really happy to be here today, and I've accepted the challenge to kind of keep you awake after the lunch. So I'm gonna try to do my best to keep you awake. And I'm gonna be talking about the lean experiments and the art of the pivots, the learnings from a Moroccan startup. I'm part of Avito.ma, a classified website, the first classified website in Morocco. And we have done a lot of pivots, and we do a lot of experiments, and especially lean experiments, and that's what I'm gonna be trying to share today. And basically, when I was coming here to meet you, I've done a pivot, because usually when I go to work, I just go with my pajama, you know, when I go from bed. But yesterday I learned that 30% of the attendees are women, which is good. So I've decided to come a bit more cleaner and stuff. So that's one pivot I've done. Yeah. So let's go to know each other. Basically, I've got some assumptions. So I know who are the attendees. Are they professionals? Are they students? But I want to know more the people that are present here today, and I will introduce myself afterwards. So, how many of you are entrepreneurs or working for startups? Just raise your hands. Okay, that's what I thought. How many of you are students? That's great. Okay, how many of you are familiar with lean startup methods? Okay, we have a few here. How many of you are applying the lean startups? Let's say for the entrepreneurs or the people working within startups, are you applying the lean startup methods? Do we have anyone? Okay. So for the one who are applying, because theoretically some people they don't believe that these methods really work. Some others they trust these methods and they believe in practical these methods could work. So I'm not sure if you guys who are aware of the lean startup method, do you believe on lean startup methods? No? Okay. So one last question is also important, just to know exactly the audience. How many of you are fans of Justin Bieber? Okay, no one. That's great. Okay. I feel I'm in the right place, in front of the right people, and it's gonna be fun to be with you guys. So let me introduce myself and tell you a little bit about myself. So this question, who I am and why I'm here, I'll start basically with the second one, why I'm here. So I told you in the beginning, I'm here for the sake of sharing. So we think that we learned something in the last years, so we are here to share with you that, guys. And we really like, and personally I like sharing, and also the company I work with like sharing, so that's why I'm here. Who I am, I'm the products and business development of director of Avito.ma. It's a company that belongs to Shipset Classified Media. Shipset Classified Media is like a huge group. They operate in many countries, more than 30 countries, and they have classified sites, they have newspaper, they have TVs, they operate in the media. But basically who are familiar with Le Bon Coin, for example, in France, we are part of that group, or Subito in Italy, or Seconda Mano, or Buon Negozio. So we do classifieds, basically. I'm also an innovation catalyst within that group. So what we do is we try to have everyone in the company to innovate. So it doesn't mean that you need to be a developer or you need to be a product manager to apply innovation or innovate, but you could be working within finance and innovate, you could be working within HR and innovate, you could be working within PR or marketing and innovate. And also you could be a lawyer and innovate, you could be a surgeon and innovate, so it's not only when we talk about development or when we talk about product that we innovate. So I'm trying to do that, I'm trying to help people really go and try innovation, let's say. I'm an internet enthusiast since I remember myself, so I love internet, I love everything related to technology, and I experienced it in the past startup failure. You know, it's not today, I guess, it's also important to show that you have failed doing something and not only show your success. So for me, having started a startup something like 5-6 years ago, and that failed, I'm really glad I've done that, and also I'm glad of my failure. I've also tried some freelance in the past, so I'm a former freelancer, but that lost all the coding skills just for the developers that are here, so we can talk with each other. So let's go directly to that question. It is crucial to pivot, yes or no? I mean, just so when I ask you if you are familiar with the lean startup methods, many of you said no. Unfortunately, I go direct to it, so I'm gonna explain. A pivot is basically what I've told you when I started speaking. It's basically changing directions, is changing your segment, is changing your platform, changing your technology, or switching from a business idea to another. Let's call it as easy as this. A bit more complicated than that, but we're gonna go through examples, and you're gonna be able to understand clearly what is the pivot and why it is important, or maybe it is not. So the aim of the next slides will be to answer this question: it is or not crucial. So I really love this example. So basically, as I told you, like I'm here to share the Avito.ma story, but every day we go to work, we also get inspired by many other stories. Either success stories, either failure stories, and really, that's why I'm also sharing other stories other than the one of Avito.ma. So here we have Kodak. Kodak, they failed a few years ago on changing and on moving to something else other than what they were doing. So basically, the funny thing about Kodak is they invented the digital camera. They had an engineer called Sesson who invented the digital camera, and he took the digital camera and went to his bosses and the management and told them, guys, I have something new. I have something that's gonna change the world. And they said, no, that's bullshit. That's not gonna work. This is too complicated. The users will not like it. And which is maybe true, because it was a kind of first, let's say, product or sample of the product. So it was complicated. But they didn't want to test it. They didn't want to take it to the market and say. They didn't stop that guy from developing the digital camera. They gave him a few other years. And basically, he came back with a more sophisticated product to the management team and told them, hello guys, there is a more sophisticated digital camera. And they said, okay, it is fine. It looks good. We really like it. But, a big but, we are not taking it to market. We are not selling it. Why? Because Kodak, they had a full control on the film industry. So they didn't want to cannibalize themselves. They didn't want to compete with themselves. They were afraid. They said, okay, if we go out with this new thing, maybe our revenues will fall down. Maybe we're not going to be as big as we are today. And then a few years after digital camera, there were other players who came into the market with the digital camera. And then Kodak, they filed bankruptcy. So that's one lesson learned from Kodak. You have other players also that did or did not the same thing. You have the Walkman, for example. Who remember here the Walkman? Who had a Walkman? Okay, that's good. So everyone had a Walkman. So basically, Sony, they knew in 2000 that the Walkman should be, they should make a transformation, make it digital. But they didn't make that move. They were afraid also. They were afraid because they had full control on the musical industry. So they were afraid that going digital will create a lot of copyright problems, a lot of privacy problems. So they said, we are not going that way. They had also the control in the industry, and they were afraid to take the move. And then what happens? Apple came. They came with the iPod, and they won the market. And Apple is the opposite thing, because when you see Apple, they are inventing the iPad, for example. They are cannibalizing the Mac, the sales of Mac, but in the bottom, they are making huge money of revenues, and also they are stable, and they disrupt their model, and they disrupt their technologies, and they don't let room for anyone to come and disturb them. And then here, Sony let the room for Apple to come. We have another example. So, Blockbuster. Who knows here Blockbuster? Anyone know something about Blockbuster? Okay, we have few. Great. Blockbuster, they are the opposite of Netflix. So they were just offline, renting movies. You know, you can go to, there were many of this in Morocco. You know, you go to the store, you give money, and then you rent the movie, then you bring it back. So in 2000, Netflix, like the CEO of Netflix, he met with Blockbuster CEO. He told him, listen, I can bring you online and just promote me offline. Let's do like an exchange. And Netflix, they were like kind of small. So Blockbuster, they were again here making huge money, and they said, no, we're not gonna do that. Forget about it. And what happens is that because the revenues they were making revenues from the people that rent movies, and then they are late bringing back the movies. So they paid like penalties on bringing back the movies late. So they said, if we go digital, it's not gonna work. We're not gonna make huge money. So they said, let's not take it. And that again was kind of huge mistakes, because afterward, they took a ticket on the bus of bankruptcy, on the bus of failure, and they just shut down. And everyone knows the huge success of Netflix today. But okay, let's not look only the, let's say, the bad guys. Let's look also the good guys. Let's look where it is also green. We have many stories, but let's talk about these three, let's say, companies that all of you probably know. So we have Facebook. Facebook before, they were called FaceMatch. You know all the story. And this was a kind of site to compare between two pictures or two students of Harvard University and say who's more awesome, who's more cool, who's more beautiful, whatever, girls, guys. And then it turned to be a social network. So they pivoted from that model, that idea, that solution they were trying to bring, to another model, another idea, another solution they are bringing, and they become a social network that was more than $100 billion today. That's huge. Twitter also, they were never called Twitter. They were called Odeo, and they were a podcasting service. So from podcasting again to social network. And here again, they made that pivot, and now they worth more than $10 billion. We have PayPal. I think everyone also knows PayPal. It was called Confinity, and Confinity is a mobile payment solution. And from mobile payment solution, they moved to be online payment solution, and the huge success we know now. So what they have in common, these guys, it's at some point they realized that they need to make a pivot. They need to change something on the way they are doing, or the problem they are addressing, or the assumptions they have, or the product they are building. And they all did that, and it worked. We have also other stories other than these guys. We have YouTube, for example. YouTube was a dating website, and from dating website it is what it is today, you know it. We had also Flickr. We have Flickr was like a gaming site, and it's become what it's become today. Instagram also made pivots. So a lot of players made some great pivots. As I told you in the beginning, I'm part of Avito.ma, and we are part of Shipset Classified Media. We think also that we have made one great or major pivot in the history that let us be what we are today, or Shipset be what Shipset is today. That pivot, if you look back in 2000, for example, let's say this chart, the red is the print revenues, newspaper or print revenues, and the blue one is the online revenues. Something weird just happened here. And that's the era of internet, basically. So the newspapers or the print industry was facing a fail down on the revenues. They were still making billions of millions, but it was failing. And here, I will be talking about Shipset on that same period. In 2000s, what you see here in black is the part of the offline revenues within Shipset Classified Media. What you see in orange, it's the online revenues. Because at some point also they decided to go online. They decided to change their business model. In 2011, it's completely a different story. What you see in orange is the online revenues, in black are the offline revenues. In 2014, it's even going further than the other years. So, what they have made. So basically, they realized that, because they started in 1939, we realized it's not gonna go as it was going with newspaper and selling prints, so we need to move online. And that's where they started the first classified website in Norway called Finn.no, and then they acquired Blocket SE in Sweden, and They just realized a huge success when it comes to classified, and they launched all over the world. And also they launched in 2012, they launched Bekher.ma for the Moroccans. And afterwards, I'll tell you the merger story, because there is a merger story, a love story between Avito.ma and Bekher.ma. We're gonna talk about it. Basically, pivoting is everywhere around you. As I told you, I was pivoting this morning. And you could be also pivoting. A lawyer could be pivoting. A student could be pivoting. Anyone, anywhere could be doing a pivot. So it could be a zoom-in pivot, like going from outside to inside. For example, if you're building a product or having an idea, you could take a small part of that idea and then build up on it. And that's a zoom-in. It's like a pivot called zoom-in. We have the zoom-out, and that's the opposite of a zoom-in. We have a platform pivot, a customer segment pivot. When you change your segment, you're not on the same segment that you had some assumptions about the segment, and then you just pivot from it and you are on a different segment. The customer need, you realize if you're building something, you have an idea, then you realize the customer need is different. And since I've seen a lot of students, that could apply also. You know, if you have like a professor who's asking like homework, and then he's maybe the customer for your homework. And then if you realize that he likes to see it that way or that way, then you will be maybe presenting it or building that work in a different way. So that also could apply to you, could apply to anyone. We have an engine of growth pivot. It could be how you, for example, in our case for Avito.ma, our engine of growth is the word of mouth, that people, you know, someone who sold something, he's gonna tell his friend that it works well, the product is just crazy, it's amazing, you can sell your stuff very fast. That's our engine of growth. Or when we started, it was paid traffic or TV, so we're doing a lot of marketing. That also was part of the engine of growth. You have the value capture and the technology and many others. So I just wanted you to have an idea of the pivots you could have. That's a good question. Do we pivot at Avito? The answer is we pivot very often. We pivoted like the last 3.5 years. We pivoted many times, and I'll share with you one or two maybe. So what you see now in the graph are high-level KPIs of classified sites. Very basic KPIs: page views, number of people that come to your site and browse the site, entering visits, number of people that come to your site and browse more than one page, and the items for selling. Someone selling a car, someone selling a home, someone selling his bag, etc. That's what we call items for selling. Something weird just happened here, and here, and here. Do you have any idea what could have happened? I've seen some Avito guys, not for you guys. We kind of pivoted our engine of growth on all here. What we did, it's just a love story, you know. We changed our engine of growth. Avito.ma, which was funded by a Swedish company, and they were operating Avito.ru in Russia, one of the hugest sites in the world, had Avito.ma. And then Schibsted Classified Media, they had Bekher.ma, they launched in 2011. And last year, basically, we just merged, and then that was the kind of engine of growth that made us achieve these changes here. I don't know if you watch UFC, but do you know these girls? Who here know these girls? Okay, that's great. We have some guys. So here, just to prove that you could pivot everywhere. And these girls, they have pivoted, and I'll tell you why, basically. It's very simple. Ronda Rousey, she's one of the most complete athletes in the UFC championship nowadays. And Holly Holm, she's now the world champion. She won the championship 3 days ago, and she fought against Ronda Rousey, and she won. But basically, if you look the background of these two girls, you'll find that Ronda Rousey, before, she was a judo athlete, and she won the Olympics, exactly. She won a medal in the Olympics. And then if you look at the background of Holly Holm, she's a boxer. And both of these girls, at some points, they decided to go into the UFC, and they are now the two complete athletes, and they are fighting for the championship. So just to prove, Whatever you're doing, guys, whatever you're doing that, whatever your skills, you could be pivoting. But remember, one size does not fit all. What we are sharing here and the learners from Kodak, Sony, Facebook, or whatever companies, even Avito.ma or Chipset, maybe it does not fit you and you still need to adjust. But to summarize what I've been talking about the last few minutes, pivots require courage, and you can learn how to be courageous, you know? Something else, dare to disrupt your solution and ideas, or someone else will do. We have seen that with Kodak, they didn't want to disrupt their ideas, and someone else did that. The same with Sony. So dare to do that. It's all about timing. Maybe you'll be acting late, because in the Kodak story also, they were kind of acting late. They went into digital camera, but it was really too late. Embrace the change and don't fear failure. Trying new things, don't fear failures. When Facebook pivoted, when Twitter pivoted, they weren't fearing anything, and they tried that, and it did pay today. Audit your mindset and get the do attitude. Basically, when I was asking if any of you or many of you know about the startup methods, the lean startup methods, some of you said yes. When I asked, do you apply the startup methods, some of you didn't raise their hands. So I had some people they know, but they don't do. And basically, to make things move onward, you really need to audit the mindset and have the mindset of the do attitude. Use your constraints and challenges to fuel your creative pivots. You know, if you have some constraints, if you have some challenges, that will push you to perform even better, that will push you to do some cool stuff, and you will take it to the next level. So don't be the enemy of your constraints and your challenges, but be friendly with your constraints and challenges. They will help you a lot. Basically, I mean, if we have these advices, some or one might think that it is done. Okay, I'm gonna be the next millionaire. Which is not the case. Don't think you are done. You still have a long run. Basically, when you pivot, it's just that you change an assumption. It's like you was thinking that it's gonna work this way, but then at some point you realize it's gonna be working the other way. So you're pivoting, and then it's another story. It's a new challenge. It's maybe a new product you're gonna be building. It's a new segment you will be addressing. It's a new growth engine of growth that you will be having in mind, and that's make a new challenge for you. When I started the discussion, it was about pivoting, and it was about lean experiments. So let's take the part of the lean experiments, because what comes after pivoting is maybe that you have new assumptions, and these new assumptions you need to test, you need to prove they work, you need to find out if you're gonna go to another assumption and pivoting again, or you're gonna continue working on your new assumption. So basically, when you experiment, when you do lean experiments, it's about experimenting fast and cheap. For example, let's say if you're building up products, and then if you do a fast experiments, maybe you'll not be wasting a lot of money building something that a customer, when you're gonna test it, will not want. Or if you are a student, you're not gonna also waste your time during the weekend or during the days working on a presentation that maybe your professor will not like. So maybe one experiment you could be doing is taking that presentation and show it to a friend, show it to a colleague, and gather the feedback, and they will tell you, maybe it's gonna work like that, maybe it's not gonna, and then you're gonna have some assumptions, you're gonna have some new ideas, you're gonna have some things that will help you to adapt it to whoever you are addressing. This is pictures at Avito, and we do a lot of experiments. Like here was a kind of workshop we were having to run an experiment. I'll tell you about the experiment, it's very easy. But basically, before starting with an experiment, we start with the customer empathy or the customer need. So we try to understand and discover. How many of you are using Avito? Wow, I'm proud. That's great. So basically, we try to know, maybe we haven't met you guys, but maybe also you haven't received emails from us, but many of the people using Avito, they come to the site and they discuss with the customer support representative, and they tell, we want this is not working the way we want it, we want to improve this, and we listen to everything. We listen to, if you came before, then be sure that we listen to you and we have your email or your message to everyone. So when we gather these feedbacks from the end users, what we do is we try to find out some solution ideas, because basically we gather either problems, either some, even users bring good feedback and solutions. So we meet everyone in the office, and then we try to gather ideas for solution, and afterward, very fast, the same day or the next day, we try experiments. And it could be really cheap. It could be as cheap and fast as a landing page. If you are used to use Avito or any other classified sites in other countries, you probably know that you could bump your ad. That means you could have your ad go up to the top. And basically, 6 months ago, we weren't offering that feature. And the users, they were coming to us and saying, hello, I want my ad to be on the top because it's going to help me sell faster, it's going to help me sell my thing, my car. And we were, okay, the customer needs that thing. Let's see if they really want it. Because there is something really strange. Sometimes people come to you, they say, okay, we want this, and then when you try to offer it, no one wants it. So that's why we try to do lean experiments. What we have done is we created, it's not even a 1 hour, it's a 30-minute landing page saying that you could bump your ad and you could pay for it either with card or SMS to see if the users are really willing to pay for that feature and they really want it. We created that landing page very fast. For the one who know it, we used Optimizely. And then we just sent an email to some Avito users and told them, okay, if you want to bump your ad, just click on this link and go and bump it. And then we realized that users really want that feature. They received the email, they clicked, and they wanted to bump, and they sent SMS. So we realized, okay, customers need that feature, we can build it. And then it took us 2 months or 3 months, but it took us just half a day to prove that there is need, and they want it this way, and they want to pay with SMS or with card. It took us just half a day, and it took us 2 months to develop. We tested on the way also. You can do it manual before making it automatic. Also, we did it so in the beginning, we had no system to do the bump feature. So we had one guy, he's here, his name is Yassine, so he was doing it manual. Like people were calling and say, okay, I want to bump, then he will take the ad and put it back to the top. We didn't make it automatic, we were just testing. And afterward, we made it automatic, but we tried really manual. Basically, you need the tools to make lean experiments, and one of the tools we use is called, it's just a loop, but basically what we start with is, when you have an idea or when you have a solution, you have a lot of unknown, and it's a matrix. Here is how crucial is the idea or the solution, how this is not crucial, this is unknown, and this is known. Basically, one assumption you could have could be very crucial to your solution to work, and it could be very unknown. You know nothing about it. And you could have some other assumptions where it is crucial, but it is known. So you know everything about the assumption. You know that the user wants it. They already called you and they want it, and it is crucial for your product to work, or for your feature to work, or for idea to work. You have also another type of assumptions, which is unknown and it is not crucial. And you have a fourth type, which is basically unknown and it is not crucial. So basically what we do, we always start with the assumption that is really crucial and that is really unknown. We know nothing about this assumption. We take it, it's what we call the leap of faith assumption. We take it there and then we try to validate that assumption or know more about the assumption. So we take it to the hypothesis stage. So when we have an assumption, we need to make hypothesis. If you are a student, then maybe you are familiar with hypothesis. So we need to say, if I have this, the users will do this or will do this. So if they will be happy, that's one assumption. They will be not happy, that's another assumption, for example. From the hypothesis, we take it to the experiments level. And when we do experiments, as I was telling you, then we try to analyze the behavior of the users. And then we take it to understanding why they behave that way, why the user behaved that way. Then we take it to decision. That means, are we going to stay with this assumption? Are we going to keep it? Or are we going to pivot? We're going to change. We're going to have another idea. Because what happens on the way, on this loop, is like you discover more, your end user, and you gather more feedbacks about your idea and about your solution. And then you could either pivot or just keep going the way you decided to go. Again here, remember, one size does not fit all. When we share this framework, maybe it should not apply to you, maybe it will not work with you, but you could get inspired from that framework. Aim for perfection, but start small and simple. If you have an idea, just try something really basic that take 1 day, that take half a day, that take 2 days, 3 days, but don't aim for perfection. I have this amazing idea, the next big thing, the next social network or something that's gonna take me 1 year to build it. No man, come on. It should take you a few days, try it, experiments, and maybe you're not gonna be wasting money, you're not gonna be wasting time. Fail cheap and fast. When you do lean experiments, that means you don't lose time, you don't lose money. So you feel cheap, and then you feel also very fast. And it will help you also stay motivated. Start experimenting what is the most crucial and unknown. That was the framework I was talking about. Break it down to eliminate bias. So if you have one assumption, maybe you could, into that assumption, break it to many levels and try one thing by another. That will also help you eliminate bias. Listen to end users. Insights will surprise you. What happens to us also, it's sometimes we meet the users, or when we are experimenting something, what they tell us, it's something that we never thought about. Say, they bring something really new to us, and that's really, it's crucial that you listen to your end users. Use the tools and learn how to experiment. But execution is also key, you know? If you know everything, if you have all the tools, if you fail to execute, or if you execute the wrong way, that means also it's another ticket to the failure. So I have this really, let's say, thinking or way of thinking of, it's a guy called Sievers. He's a writer. He's also the founder of musicals like CD Baby called site. And he, not invented, but he was just sharing his way of thinking. I have adopted this from his way of thinking. So he thinks that like having a good or bad idea, awful idea, for example, a weak idea, I've added pivots or experiments or insights, and then, for example, with no execution, if you have, for example, a brilliant idea that he scales at 20, with no execution, your idea will be worth $20. For example, maybe Facebook was a brilliant idea, but it was also a brilliant execution. Someone maybe of you or me or anyone could be having a weak idea, a weak pivot or experiment, and this will be worth $1, but with a brilliant execution, that's gonna be $10 million. This is a huge, weak idea. Maybe something you think is stupid. With a good execution, maybe we'll be taking it to the next level. Chance favors only the prepared mind, and that's a saying from Louis Pasteur. Le hasard ne favorise que les esprits préparés, which is true. You need to be prepared. It's not like I was being lucky, even if the luck come and knock your door. If he finds you sleeping, then you will not be benefiting from the luck. So you need really to be prepared. And I'm gonna just sharing some small slide about being prepared. Remember, work hard like not a dog, but a salmon. Few weeks ago, I was in Oslo Innovation Week in Oslo, Norway, and I was also sharing some of the learnings of Avito.ma with the Norwegian. And I was writing dog. I said, no, these Norwegians, they will not like being a dog. So maybe I will say salmon because it's the country of the salmons. But if you know there is one truth, it's that salmon, when they migrate against the currents, you know? They go the other side. So they need really to work hard and to swim hard to achieve their destination. And not only that, when they migrate again, they face the hungry bears. And they also, which is something amazing again, I learned when salmon migrate, they even like go up the waterfalls, you know? Shlel, when it's going down, they go up the waterfall, which is just amazing. So salmon, really to my surprise, is making huge hard work unbelievable. And these guys here, they all work for Avito, and basically they work hard, and then when they find some time for sleeping, they sleep. So one other advice, you guys work hard, and then if you find any small time for sleeping, just go and sleep. Maybe you will not find this again. Basically, I think I'm almost done. We are hiring. Be our next team picture. Be on our next team picture. This is the team of Avito.ma. We have many openings. We have backend developers. We have front-end developers. We have products manager. We have growth hacker. We have a DevOps also, and you can check all the openings on Avito.ma emploi/emploi. And we'll be really happy to have you within us. We're always looking for smart people for talents, either students or they are working now, so it doesn't matter. Just come and join us. So I'm not sure if I have room for questions, but I would like also to hear from you if you have any questions. And also we could keep in touch. You could contact me, or if you could even send me your feedback about the presentation. But you guys, as I told you, I will be just around. You can come and meet me. We can discuss. We can drink coffee. We can do whatever you want.